Well, hello everybody. We are the team is back. We are back in action. Clay was away doing something so fun, and I am so excited that we get to show everybody a little glimpse of that. But we're going to do that right after Clay says his hello, and then we'll do our intro. So you go ahead and say hi first.
Hey everybody, glad to be back. And we'll talk about my super fun weekend here in a second. But always glad to be back on the show with Elsa.
Yay! We'll be right back. All right, so Clay, set up this clip for everybody. Give them a little idea of what they're going to see and why they're going to see it.
So I found this organization 2 years ago through a guy who used to work for me. It is called the Phantom Airborne Brigade. I've mentioned them a couple of times in the past, but I spent a good portion of my military career as a paratrooper. Jumped a number of times before I retired. You could see behind me, I'm a master rated parachutist, something I'm very, very proud of. But I found this organization 2 years ago called the Phantom Airborne Brigade. They're out of Zephyr Hills, Florida. And what they do, what we do as an organization, is we conduct military style parachute operations, round canopy, static line, just like we all did in the Army for years and years. And it's an organization that brings veterans of all ages and all generations together. And the only prerequisite is you have to be a military trained parachutist. I jump with them 3 to 4 times a year, take a trip down to Florida. It's always great. Twice a year, they jump, and we're going to show you my exit out of this beautiful World War II C-47 aircraft. We jump into a couple of different lakes in Florida. And the reason that we do these water jumps is because it allows us to do some really special things. But let's show the clip first, and then I'll talk a little bit more about the cool stuff that the lake jumps allow us to do.
I love it. All right, you guys are going to love this. This is so cool.
Go on, everyone! Go!
It's so crazy because you look so chill. Like, you just look so chill. Like, bloop, just jumping. If that was me, yeah, my screams would be heard from 5 states away.
Yeah, that was my 85th career jump. So I won't say it's old hat, but I am comfortable with it. I exited out of that plane. I was the number 3 jumper. I had a GoPro mounted on my helmet. And that's why, I got to share that with everybody. But the cool thing about us landing in that lake, and that was Lake Dora, the city of Tavares. I think that's how you pronounce it, Tavares or Tavares, but they host us either once a year or twice a year. We jump into Lake Dora. We've jumped into Lake Eustis, which is one of the next up in the chain of lakes. Great people down there. All those boats that you could probably see, those boats drive out and pick all of us up out of the water. So we jump with a life preserver on. They pick us up. They drive us to shore. Totally voluntary. They're such awesome people. But the water jumps allow older folks, like our oldest jumper, our number 1 jumper, his name's Freddie, is 90 years old. The guy went to airborne school, learned how to be a paratrooper in the 1950s. So he jumps with us. We also had 2 paraplegic, triplegic jumpers. So allowing them to land in the lake, right? So we rig them up in a parachute and we hook them up and we push them out the door, and they love it. They come back over and over again. We also had a double amputee who jumped with his dog.
Whoa.
He's got a dog that he jumped. Her name's Juliet. His name's Chris. Jumps with her right below his reserve parachute, and he cuts her away right before he gets in the water. And, this is the second time they've done it. But those are things that people can't do. Like Freddie at 90 years old can't land on, the ground, and he's not alone. I mean, we've got some guys who've been around the block a few times, and ladies. We've got women paratroopers that jump with us. But we also have the paraplegic, triplegic, and then the double amputee. It allows those folks specifically the ability to jump again. And that's really, it's the camaraderie, it's the brotherhood, sisterhood of being a paratrooper, and it brings us all together. We facilitated a reunion of an Army unit, a Ranger unit. A bunch of them jumped. And we as the Phantom Airborne Brigade kind of put it all together and allows them to come together around this event of jumping out of a plane. And we put out, I think the total number was somewhere around 170 jumpers for the day. But out of that beautiful C-47, the Tico Bell, which dropped paratroopers on D-Day, actual D-Day aircraft.
That's a lot of history right there.
Yeah, amazing. So cool to be a part of that. But yeah, I do that a couple times a year, and I got the water jump this time in, which is a lot of fun.
How often do you do the water jump? Like twice a year, or
they do it twice a year?
Okay.
It's very, because we jump every parachute we own, and oh, by the way, not just the mains get wet, but the reserves have to be unpacked and dried and then repacked. So it's very time consuming, and it gets a little expensive to do all that repacking. So we only do those twice a year, but they're a lot of fun. Again, City of Tavares, all the boat people that, pick us up, the whole thing is amazing. And again, Phantom Airborne Brigade, you can find them. If you want to watch more videos, full length videos, go to YouTube. It's all over the place. We've got some folks, Greg Stanley, who's one of my good buddies and is a jump master, and he does all the video editing and stuff. So he puts the videos out on YouTube. And it's just a great group of folks. And I love going down there, and it's really such a great experience for veterans in general. And there's a lot of veterans that come and don't even jump. They just come and they be around it.
Be part of it.
Here, and they, it's a reminder, of days gone by, which they're okay with, but it's the camaraderie and the laughter and the joking and the profanity and everything that comes with it.
Some good old profanity.
Yeah, well, soldiers are soldiers. It doesn't matter. But it really is a great organization. It is a nonprofit organization. So please, it takes money to run that joint. Go to Phantom Airborne Brigade, Google it, find the website. You can make a donation, and donations matter. So, yeah, such a great weekend for me. Such a good time for everybody that participated. And I can't wait to go back. I know that sounds,
bet that is crazy cool.
They think I'm crazy. Yeah, I'm retired. I'm still jumping out of planes. They think I'm nuts, but I love it.
Listen, I think it's nuts for myself, but for you, I think it's awesome. I think for you, that is an amazing thing. I kind of we've talked about this before. I kind of sort of love the idea. I think it's, I don't love the idea. It's so stupid. I don't love the idea of the literal jumping out. I think just getting the nerve to do that. But the idea of, essentially flying, technically falling, but flying through the air sounds so incredible and exhilarating. And the view, as you guys saw in that video, just to be able, you do people in general who don't do this really, do you think they have like the peace of mind to, just to like gather in that scene, or are people so freaked out by the fact that they're falling?
So we have a very wide range of experience, right? Everybody who went to U.S. Army Airborne School and jumped 5 times and never jumped again, to guys like me, or even guys and gals who have more experience than I do. Like I said, I retired with 77 jumps. I've added another 8 since I've retired, so I'm at 85. And we've got guys that jump down there that are 100, 150, 200 jumps. So I would tell you that there are plenty of us who get out there and just love the time under canopy. Yeah. So quiet and so peaceful, and it's awesome. And then there are people who are just for whatever reason they want to do it again, even if it's just one more time. They want to jump. I can promise you, they are focused solely on exactly what they need to do, and they're probably missing out on a lot of it, but that's okay. Sure. That is perfect. Okay.
Yes, that is okay. That is okay. So guys, first of all, and I know you're as interested as I am, so I know none of you mind that I'm hijacking some of our topics here for a moment, because I do have more questions. I have to ask them. So first of all, how long does it take from the time that you jump to getting to the ground? Like, what's the time span?
So you exit, and we do static line around canopy. So we are connected. You can see, right before I exited, you could see the static line, the hooks hooked to the cable, and aircraft. So that pulls the parachute out of the pack on your back, right? Self
Oh,
deploys. We don't pull anything. It's not free fall parachuting, right? So
oh,
it deploys as you go out. And
I
so
like
you
that.
count, right? You count to 4. We're all
Mhm.
the new Army parachutes. You count to 6, but we were all told to count to 4. These 4 seconds, you've got a canopy, and if you don't, you better pull your reserve. So it's 4 seconds. You've got a canopy, and we jump from usually about 1,500 feet above the water. So,
Okay.
1,500. So you'll get about 30 to 40 seconds, depending on your weight and the temperature that day. Because sometimes if it's warm, the air is denser and it takes you longer to fall. And there's all kinds of science involved. But you're getting anywhere from, 30 to 45 seconds of time under canopy, just floating until, in this case, we're hitting the lake. And the boat teams, like I said, are awesome. They're on us like less than 10 seconds, right? There's a boat, you hit the water. And we all jump with a life preserver on, but you hit the water and there's a boat pulling up to you and 2 or 3 people or a family or whoever, and they help pull you out of the water and pull your parachute out and take you back to shore. It's great.
Yeah, that part sounds actually a little alarming to me because you have this parachute and these cords and things and you're wet and like, does the parachute when you land, does it just fall nicely behind you typically?
It does. It will fall one side or the other. It's almost so unbelievably rare to have a canopy come down on top of you. It almost never happens.
That's the idea. That's the image that.
Yeah. No, it'll go, in front of you, or it'll go behind you, or off to one side or the other. On that particular jump, and again, we shortened the video, but I came in kind of face first landing, although not very quick. And truthfully, I quickly rolled over on my back and took the lines. You saw the suspension lines, and I made sure, because I landed face first, I rolled over and I flipped half of them, so they were split either way. And I just stayed on my back until the boat got there.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
A lot of fun.
That is so wild. Oh, all right, guys. Thank you, Clay. Thank you for indulging me. I probably could come up with like 50 million more questions. And I know you guys are thinking of questions too. You're like, oh, I wonder if. So put them in the comments. Ask Clay. Clay will love to answer them. Clearly, he loves talking about it. He loves doing it, loves talking about it. We love hearing about it. So it's a perfect situation, right?
Yeah, it is. It's annoyingly one of my favorite topics.
I think that's cool.
Love everything about it. So I'll talk about it all night long if you let me. So probably
that's
better.
Awesome. Hey guys, if you want a show dedicated to talking about all that, you line up those questions for us and we'll make it a Q&A and have some fun with it. So just a thought, throwing it out there.
We could do that.
That'd be really fun, I think. I would enjoy it. I love it because I have like so many questions about just being airborne like that, and it's just so cool. And other people will come up with much better questions than I can. So I think that'd be super fun. All right, so listen, we have something not fun for the people involved, especially the one in the center of it all. Of course, we have to do a Trump trial update. We must because we'll be doing these, until like 2050 or something.
Well, especially since did you see that the secret documents case got postponed indefinitely?
I saw that maybe an hour before we came on. I was like, okay.
Again, folks, reminder, it's Tuesday. It's Tuesday. So all of this stuff is late breaking today. But yeah, so the secret documents in Florida, because that's where that one's at.
Right.
Postponed indefinitely because, I think the judge recognizes that there's just so much overlap going on. It's somewhat fruitless to even attempt this. So I think rightfully so. But are we going to take some bets on when the new trial date is? Somewhere maybe mid-October, potentially?
Yeah, gotta be. Mid-October sounds about right. Yep. Yeah. Sounds about, I can't imagine why. I mean, I don't know why that came to mind, but
But the big one in New York, and today, we had Stormy Daniels. Right.
This one here.
Stormy on the stand.
Stormy.
Yeah. And so her testimony, pushed or almost demanded a call for a mistrial.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So part of the gist of what was going on today, which is, it's comical in its way. It's all very, let's be real. It's so disgusting and absurd and embarrassing, the whole entire thing, that, as I like to do. I like to find the amusement factor in this, because otherwise my head will explode. So you guys all know that about me. So, I'm looking at this and reading these things, and I find it amusing in a weird way that, that basically everyone wanted Stormy Daniels to just please shut up.
Even the judge objected to some
was
of the
like,
things she was
way
saying.
too much. Her demeanor, her words, I mean, everything about what she was doing did no favors to her or her team, in, just the way she came across. It was very frivolous and bubbly and silly and over the top, and making it very, very clear to everyone what anyone with half a brain knows, which is that she's just looking for attention. She just wants to be the center of attention. She wants a big payout. She wants, all of these things. And
She wants a book deal. She wants movie rights. She wants all that.
She made that abundantly clear today. And I guess, I think most people, or at least a lot of people, like, basically know the timeline of things. But in case you don't, this stems back to 2006 with their alleged affair, or tryst, or whatever you want to call it. You can come up with all kinds of names for it. But an involvement, we'll call it an involvement. Or no, what's the one Will Smith and Jada, whatever her face is, an entanglement. We'll use that. They had an entanglement.
An entanglement.
An entanglement. Right? That's a good one, actually. I gotta give it to them.
It sounds like a guy trying to talk his way out of something. That's what
totally.
Yeah.
And it was actually her that was talking her way out of it, funny enough. An entanglement. But yeah, so anyhow, alleged affair, entanglement, 2006. Supposedly, well, I guess it's maybe not it's supposedly a hush money payment, September 2016. Trump apparently discusses $150,000 payment, understood to be for a different woman, Playboy model Karen McDougal. He discussed this allegedly, supposedly, with Michael Cohen, who secretly recorded the conversation. So I guess it's not so allegedly for that. She alleged that she had an extramarital affair with him that began in 2006. Then you have Stormy Daniels, who, according to prosecutors, he pays her $130,000 through her attorney via a shell company in exchange for her silence. Blah 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 blah. So, of course, this has all been disputed by Trump. He claims that this did not happen. She says, yeah, it totally did. Now, at some point during all this, I think she signed a document saying that, it didn't actually happen, right?
Yep.
Like, that was the gist. Yeah. Then, of course, November of 2016, he secures the election, and all hell really breaks loose, because now that is the true hardcore beginning of the get rid of Trump campaign, from every non-Trumper or anti-Trumper in the world. And then so on and so forth. So that's like the gist of what's going on. And of course, 2018, Wall Street Journal breaks news about the hush money payment. And here we are with now, trial number 3007 for Donald Trump. So, yeah. So what are you thinking, Clay? What do you think is going to happen with this one?
So the call for the mistrial was because the things that she was talking about, which were very, private, illicit, Jackie Collins smut kind of stuff is what it sounds like. That was when the judge was like, okay, stop. Like, completely irrelevant to the case. Really, what it is it's trying to, it's a character assassination, which is what all of this is. But this is just a continuation of character assassination of President Trump. And so she was letting loose with all of it, whether it happened or not. There's only two people in the world that know. But she was telling her story, and they said mistrial. Trump's team said mistrial. This is totally irrelevant. The jury doesn't need to hear this stuff. And even they took a break, and the judge basically came back and was like, okay, knock it off. So her testimony is now, you can look at it two ways. Her testimony is now on the record because none of it was struck from the record, right? So that is there for the jury to continue to review, right? As they go through deliberation and stuff. So if they choose to go back and read some smut, then, that's up to them. But it's there, and it's there forever. So it just depends on how you feel about it. Is she, like you said, is she doing this purely for attention? Is it for the book or the movie? Is she, you know, doing, I hate to say this, but doing what adult film stars do, which is scream for attention, right?
Right. Right.
Is that just a continuation of who she is? But
Mm-hmm.
the reality, and we've talked about this before, is that the timeline of all of this, you know, he is on trial for using campaign funds to
Right.
pay her off,
Right.
right? Whatever happened between them,
Mm-hmm.
totally irrelevant.
Yeah,
Totally.
completely irrelevant. And by the way, and I don't know if you guys watching know this, the feds already essentially signed off on this. Like they looked at it and said there was no campaign violation made, and they were done with it. I mean, there's record of that they said, nope, he did not use campaign funds. It was not a violation of anything. This is basically dead in the water. We're done. It wasn't, so that should have been the end of the story with that. Like you can think whatever you want, dirty dog, whatever, this, that, the other thing, adulterer, blah, blah, blah. All of the things might be 100% correct. Doesn't matter. As long as he didn't do anything illegal, it's done. And, that's the part that still to this very minute baffles the hell out of me. How are they making a case, a criminal case against him with something that was already dismissed, like already looked at, already dismissed? I hope somebody can help me understand that. Can you? Because I don't get it.
I mean, it's right now it's mission accomplished because what they're trying to do is keep him off the campaign trail.
Mm-hmm.
That's the whole purpose behind this. There's no expectation that they're going to win this case. Zero.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the whole thing, Stormy Daniels, the only relevance to this is, were you given money? Yes. When were you given money? On this date. Who did you get the money from? How was this arranged? Like that's what was the money for? Those are the things that are relevant when it comes to her. Her getting on the stand, doing all this character assassination stuff. This is all part of this, the keep Trump out of office campaign that you, like you said, has been going on for 8 years now, truthfully. Right. And right now it's somewhat mission accomplished. I mean, there's a couple of things, right? He's been doing a pretty solid job of going to the firehouse with pizza and like hanging out at the, the bodega and like talking to people. He's campaigning in New York. He's doing it every day. Now he's paying for it.
Yeah.
Like although the judge did say, was it today or was it yesterday? Like, I'm getting tired of this. I need to, you're going to end up in jail. And he's like, that's fine. If this is,
do it.
Go ahead. The Constitution's more important than me spending a night or two in jail. I don't care. Go ahead.
And the thing about all of this that I just can't help but love, as much as I truly hate the circus of all of it, the thing that I do love is that every single thing that they try and do to tarnish him and to stop him and slow him down only gives him more traction, more fuel, more accolades, more love, more everything. And this gag order is another example of that. Like, they don't get it. Like, how do they not get it that you're telling a former president and a very likely upcoming future president that he cannot defend himself, he cannot speak, and all we're hearing collectively is that you're denying him his rights to speak. I mean, come on. And, here's what's happening. So in a weird way, it's probably like one of the best things that they could have done for his popularity.
Agreed. And I don't know, I know he's got a natural knack for taking, a crap sandwich and turning it into something fantastic. That's why he's as wealthy as he is. But like, I don't know if it's a campaign manager. I don't know who it is, but somebody, and it could very well be Trump himself. Whoever is doing this, whoever's looking at, well, tomorrow, let's go to the firehouse. And then on Friday is such and such day. Let's go by this location. And then we'll do, and however they're reacting to everything that's going on and they're flipping it on its ear and they're making it look great for him is a masterful, like this is a master class on opportunistic campaigning. That it's unbelievable. It's so good. Whether you respect him or not, you have to respect what he's turning this into, which is a great opportunity for him. And he's knocking it out of the park.
And proof that they know that too. They may publicly say, oh, he's down in the polls. You're going down. They may be saying all that. But, one of my favorite, funniest moments of proof of that was his a few weeks back. He went to like a fast food joint, and some woman was, there's a big exchange between him and very notably, and I point out the fact that she was Black because this is obviously a big demographic that they're all fighting over, the Black community. And it was a Black woman that was basically saying, hey, listen, I don't care what they're saying in the news. We love you. We think you're great. We're not listening to them. We love you. And he gives her a great big hug. And, it's this amazing, moment captured, for his campaign. And then like a hot minute later, the Biden team is like, oh, you know what? I think we got to do this too. So we're going to do the same thing. And they try and stage almost the identical thing. And there's like no reaction from the people there. They could care less. They're just looking at him like, oh, okay. And then you have like one of his staff people going, stay back, just stay back. Nobody's coming forward. The whole scene was awkward and embarrassing and lame and they just fell flat on their face with it. So it's, they can't win. If they win this.
The campaign on the Democratic side is so broken right now. Like they are floundering so bad. They can't figure out what to do. And I was convinced, you were convinced that at some point in the middle of all this, that they were going to cash President Biden in, or they were going to cash the vice president in. One of them was going to have to go. And I think they're at a point now where they really, really don't know what to do. Like there's no like contingency of, okay, well, we've reached this threshold and now we've got to do this. Like it's so bad. I think there's a lot of folks behind the scenes throwing their hands up like it doesn't matter what we do. I think we're screwed. Yeah.
And I think that's genuinely the case. I mean, I don't know what they could do right now to salvage anything that they have going on. I mean, now they're all turning on him. There was just the what is it? The squad. The squad is turning on him. And, this is a little bit of irony too. It's not surprising because this is what they do. They all end up turning on each other at some point, and that's now they're calling him out and telling him what a bad job he's done. There's a big, I'll have to find it. I'm sure we have it somewhere, but they're calling him out too now because they're not happy with his response with Palestine and no, and they're probably sitting there going, no good deed goes unpunished. There is no good deeds happening. We know that, but that's probably their perspective.
Speaking of Palestine.
Speaking of, that was an accidental segue, by the way.
It worked beautifully.
I know. I'm going to pretend I did that on purpose. Let's all go with it. Okay, guys.
Yeah. So, this was a very, very brief headline, but it's pretty significant. So there was a ceasefire being brokered by Egypt and I think Qatar, however you want to pronounce it. They are brokering the ceasefire between Hamas and Israel. And, they put all the terms and conditions together and they threw it on the table yesterday. And Hamas is like, well, we're in, we'll sign, we'll take it. And literally within that hour, Israel launched an offensive into Rafah to clear out some known, and it was a very clinical, very well done counterterror, operation. Right. There was pre-warnings done. They told a humanitarian camp with a hospital and some other things. They're like, okay, you guys need to get out of the way.
It was like 100,000 people that they, told to evacuate.
Yep. Like advance warning,
trying to help you guys.
They did. Right. They did all that. Yep. And then they rolled in and did what they do. So Israel's willing to listen. Like that was the last update I got. They're like, well, we'll listen. But Hamas is already like, we're in because they're, the way terrorism works, and Hamas is not stupid as an organization. Is that it's about attention, it's about support, and it's about maintaining visibility as much and as long as you can, right? And then you back off and you reset, and it may take you 6 months, it may take you a year, it may take you 2 years, right? They'll back off, they'll stop all this stuff, everything will go cold for a while, and all they're doing is restocking, rearming, recruiting, training, right? All this stuff, when the first rocket attack happened, and everybody's like, how in the world did they move all those around? How did they get them all set up? Let me tell you, that was a multi-year operation to it. And that's what they're going to do again. They're going to sign up for this ceasefire. They're going to, and if Israel agrees, which at some point they will, that's all Hamas is going to do. They're going to go to ground. They're going to take a breather. They're going to drink some water, take some Motrin, and and they're going to reset, rearm, and reman, and get themselves up for another one of these 2 years from now. Yeah.
So October 7th obviously was pretty unprecedented. Israel's memory is not going to be short with this. What on earth, if you even have any idea, like what would it take, do you think, for Israel to agree to a ceasefire right now? Because they have to be sitting there saying basically the same thing that you're saying, that they're not going to give up. They're not going to honor a ceasefire. They're going to give the appearance of honoring a ceasefire just so they can, like you said, regroup and maybe make an even bigger attack. So, I mean, honestly, if I were Israel, I would say you're getting decimated. You're getting burnt down to the ground. So if you're, I mean, I know that sounds horrible, but
yeah, the hard, yeah, the hard part is you can't kill a belief or an idea, right? And people say, oh, well, we did it at the end of World War II. Japan's not the same thing, right? And those people are kind of the overreactionary crowd of, you've got, if you go nuclear, well, Israel can't, like literal, like Palestine it's like right there. It's not even an option, right? It right takes it off the table, truthfully, based on proximity. But like we defeated the Nazis in World War II. There is still Nazism around the world. Like the idea when Hitler killed himself, that didn't end it, right? So you can't, Bin Laden's dead. Al Qaeda still exists. Like it's still going on. And Hamas is the same way. So even if they dismantle, I think that would be the first thing that Israel would demand, is that they dismantle the Hamas-led government in the occupied territories in Palestine, Gaza and those places. That would be the number one thing, right? You would have to get Hamas out of the government, and two, you would have to do 100% disarmament. There would be no weapons allowed. There would be all that stuff. They'd get rid of everything. But again, it's all going to happen underground anyway. Even if you pull Hamas out of the government, they're just going to move, 3 doors down to a new building and set up shop, and it's going to be the same thing. So it's counter-terror operations are extremely difficult because good guys look like bad guys look like good guys, everybody looks the same. It's very difficult to kill an idea, but I think at a minimum, there has to be a ceasefire at some point, because Israel is not going to, nobody wants to do this indefinitely. We didn't like doing it indefinitely, and it wasn't anywhere near us, Iraq and Afghanistan. But this, the first thing is they've got to get Hamas out of the government. That's going to be the number one demand coming out of Israel. And if that doesn't happen and it's not agreed to, Israel's never going to sign up.
And they need, quote unquote, I guess, neutral leaders to, kind of facilitate that. And I mean, what we have for leadership right now is a joke. So I don't see anything effective coming out of our camp, so to speak, to help neutralize this situation or appease anyone in it. So I feel like we're going to see this going on for a bit longer.
Yeah. Months.
Yeah. And,
months minimum.
And meanwhile, and we'll do another one of those super sleek segues. Meanwhile, we have all of our protests going on, and all of this is kind of finally seems to be coming to a head. And, oh my goodness, we could probably devote a whole show to this, but both of us would probably lose our temper so bad that,
yeah, this one would get an NC-17 rating, I think, if we did a whole show on this just for language.
It would. It would. I wouldn't even be able to put this one on YouTube.
Just for language, they'd be like, nope, this one you can't do. But you said this is all kind of coming to a head, or really kind of on the downslope. I just saw today that the Rhode Island School of Design, this morning, students went in occupied buildings. Like everybody else is getting tear gassed and flashbangs and like, their encampments are getting torn down and kids are getting thrown out of school and people are getting arrested. And yet Rhode Island, I don't know, maybe the news is a little slow there. I don't know. But, just now decided we're going to go occupy some buildings on campus. Like, so
like, what are they doing? Like, can't you just picture these jackasses with their Starbucks and their iPhone and going, what do you want to do today? I don't know. Do you want to go like storm the building? Like, I don't know, I guess. Okay, cool. Some guy gave us a whole bunch of tents and some money, so let's do it. Sounds like fun.
There is some truth to that. There's some not great journalism going on out there. I don't know if you saw it or not. There's a very, very attractive blonde woman. I won't. It's not you.
I know what you're talking
about. Conservative. She's on TV all the time. She's got her own podcast. I won't say her name. But she said that the reason you're not seeing any of the protesters is because they're ugly, because they are unattractive people. Now, this particular journalist, I actually enjoy her opinion most of the time.
Yes.
That was the laziest. That was probably not.
Yeah, that was probably not good journalisming.
No. It was really like very cringeworthy. Like, really? Like, you're better than that.
Yeah, we didn't really need to go there.
Yeah, that was just. But it is widespread. I mean, and there are some amazing correlations, and some people are doing some real great data polls. I saw they pulled the top maybe 15 schools with federal funding, like which schools have received the most federal funding. And oh, by the way, all 15 of those schools are on the list of where these protests are going on. Columbia, $1 billion. $1 billion
Ivy
in
League
federal
schools.
funding.
Ivy League schools,
And-
these people are, these parents of these students are paying astronomical amounts of money for their little snot-nosed kids to be going there. I'm not saying they're all snot-nosed kids, but there's a good portion of them that clearly are. And then you also have educators, professors, instructors there joining in and participating in this nonsense. And there's been, I think I just saw, I didn't save it, but there's just one who was being considered as kind of like a ringleader of instigating these things. So that right there, shame. I don't like to really shame people. I don't, but I can't help but sit here and go, shame on you parents. Shame on you. Because if that was my kid, if I happen to look on the news and I saw my kid who I'm spending a boatload of money on to get an education out there, with his Starbucks and his flag and his mask or her mask, protesting instead of being in class where you belong, you're done. You're done. You're out. Go figure it out. You're done. So shame on them, honestly, for sitting here going, oh, I'm so proud of Junior for standing up for what they believe in. They didn't give a crap about any of this until all of a sudden. This is a bunch of theatrics and bull. And also, so I've got some numbers for you too. Let's see, because we like numbers. So more than 2,000 people have been arrested at these pro-Palestine protests at colleges. 2,000 people have been arrested, right? And that's just been in the past 2 weeks. At UCLA overnight, 210 people were arrested when officers cleared an on-campus encampment. And of course, that was pure chaos and a mess. And as all of them are, as soon as this starts happening, they all get their cell phones out and, recording. Oh, look at the police are being so mean to us. See that one with that, that guy, I think he was, just dragging his feet as the police officer was moving along. So he just scooped him right up and he started, I think it was Texas, right? He started screaming like a little girl. It was hilarious. Let's see. So tons and tons of arrests, but I want to get to the really, really interesting point. Let's see. So nearly 30% of the people arrested at Columbia were unaffiliated with the university. And are you ready for this one? 60% of the arrests at City College involved people who weren't affiliated with that school. So, right. And this is exactly what we're talking about. You have all of these outside agitators coming in. And, and if you've seen all of the pictures or some of the pictures, I should say all of the pictures, but I just find it so fascinating that they all coordinated, these students or protesters all coordinated their tents. They all have the same exact tent. Wow. They all went to the same tent store for them. Interesting. So, I mean, come on. How stupid do they think people are? That's like really my question.
But there are professional agitators. I mean, they've showed there was a woman that they showed who was, down there giving advice to the Columbia students, I think in and before they, stormed and took over that academic hall. She was an advisor for Occupy Wall Street. She was an advisor for a couple of other, I think some of the 2020, riots, the Antifa and those kinds of things. So she's been around. She does this for a living. She gets paid for it. She's George Soros probably has her on speed dial. But you were talking about the educators. I think it's UNC where there is a number of professors that are saying, well, we don't support the administration attacking these students and potentially expelling them or suspending them and all these other things. We are going to withhold everyone's grades, whether they were involved or not, because we're gonna withhold their grades, and because we think the administration is overstepping their bounds and all these other things. And the administration basically, without threatening, said all professors, all instructors, all teachers' assistants will submit grades on time, and
Nice.
and left it at that. There was a little bit of flowery, like our students are dependent upon time grades for employment and all these other things. But it literally, the message was, put the grades in.
Yeah.
And you will find yourself unemployed, because it is part of their contract. Part of your responsibilities as an instructor is to get grades in on time. Any other instructor, any other professor, I don't care how tenured you are, if you don't have your grades in by a certain date, they can fire you.
Yeah,
I promise you, at almost every university in America, that is a condition of your continued employment, is putting grades.
Yeah, it's literally part of your job. Like the thing the culmination of everything that you do throughout the school year. That is the point of it in that setting. So yeah, I saw the saddest video, broke my heart. A girl, I forget where she was. It might've been Texas. I just can't remember where it was. But she just made this video and she was devastated. They were part of, this class is the same class that lost out on their high school graduations because of COVID. And they were so excited. This girl was saying, I have worked my ass off for this. This is maybe it's not a big deal to you or somebody else, but to me, this was huge. We lost out on our high school graduation, that experience of that. I was so looking forward to my graduation here. And now we've gotten a letter from, the university saying that the graduation has been canceled due to threats and just fear because of the protesters, that they were concerned about violence and stuff like that. So how horrendous and sad and tragic is that now these kids get robbed again because of, theater politics, basically.
Because of something manufactured by the government?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. What?
I mean, that's really what this boils down to, right? Twice in a row for them, separated by 4 years. And I don't know if you've seen these, there's plenty of them out there, but the man on the street reporting with all these protesters showing how absolutely stupid and uninformed many of them are. From the river to the sea, they can't tell you what the river to the sea means, right? That's an ongoing thing. They can't tell you where Palestine is in many cases. I saw one today that it was, again, man on the street type reporting, and and it was this young woman, and it was free Palestine. She was for freedom for everybody. Like she's free Palestine, free Congo, free Rwanda, free Hawaii. She actually said free Hawaii,
no,
free Puerto Rico, free Haiti. And it was like,
wow. How about somebody needs to send her over to Haiti. Just send her to Haiti. Let's see how good that works out for her.
Oh my, it's just unbelievable. Like it is so, they're so uninformed. I'm not even going to say misinformed. you know, your belief in the Palestine-Israel conflict, whichever side of that coin you land on. I think you and I obviously are landing on the same side of this, but if you land on the other side, that's one thing. If you're educated and informed, your opinion is what it is. Okay, fine. But to be uninformed and to be this adamant about what you're doing is just
it really
such
is.
a blot on anybody's character as a human being, like, and these schools, unfortunately, the kids that you're talking about that have gotten, kind of screwed out of 2 graduations, some of these kids are going to get screwed out of jobs because there's a lot of companies now that are saying, we're not hiring anybody from Columbia. We're not hiring anybody from Harvard, from UNC, from Yale, from all of these schools that are UCLA, USC, all these schools that are participating. Blanket statement, we're not hiring you. If you went to those schools, you might as well go get a second degree from somewhere else because we're not doing it.
How about that, right? Once upon a time, that was the golden ticket into a job, into certain fields, and now it's wow.
Well, Forbes and Forbes, which is a great, publication, just rewrote the Ivy League. They said that current Ivy League that we know, as we know it today, sucks. It's terrible. It's not a good education. It's totally overrated. They're not what they think they are. And they put out a list, 2 lists actually, public and private. 10, the new Ivy League is really what it's called. And all of the Ivy League, plus some of those adjacent schools like MIT, which wasn't really Ivy League, but was kind of Ivy League, all of them gone. None of them on the list. You got schools like University of Illinois, right? Shout out to some friends of mine, right? Yeah. University of Illinois, University of Florida, on the private side, Notre Dame, and some other ones like that. There's everybody's recognizing that the wokeness of all of this is detrimental to the graduates, which means it's hiring them is detrimental to your organization.
Once you start hitting people in the wallets, and as far as the students and the parents of these students, whoever's footing the bill for these colleges, if you start hitting them in their wallet, they're going to change their tune very, very quickly. And when you're talking about an issue that is it's deep and it's very emotional and it's very it's intense, and it should be, and it's right to be. So if you're on the wrong side of things when it comes to your future employers, you're asked out. It's that simple. So your kids better be thinking long and hard about where you are and what you want to be doing in the future, because what you're doing now is going to dramatically impact your future.
And this is one of those where like peer pressure is really going to start to matter.
Yeah.
Like the student, like those young men at UNC, and good for them. Let's give them a shout out, right? Protect the flag. Great guys. Love it. That is there's been so much outpouring for those young men. I think it was fantastic. The fraternity guys, and I don't remember what fraternity it was. I was never a fraternity guy. So I don't know. I don't have all those committed to memory, but good for them, right? Stepped in, said, nope, we're not doing this. Whatever flag was raised, they tore it back down. They put American flag up, and they
tore it right down. Yeah, what a powerful, the video is great, but the picture itself is so great of these kids holding up that flag and so that it wouldn't touch the ground. It was like, oh, my patriotic heart, oh my God, that was beautiful. And yes, there is hope. There is hope when you think there's the thing is, these kids were taking on verbal and physical assault. I mean, things were being thrown at them. I mean, talk about that. That's some little badassery right there. And, we're not used to seeing that, at least not in the mainstream. But yeah, that was really, really cool. I think there was a GoFundMe that was put up for them to throw like the rager of all ragers, and the last that I saw, and I'm sure it's gone up quite a bit more since then. The last that I saw, they had raised like $400,000 for these kids. I suspect that they will do they'll do some great things with it. I'm sure they're going to throw a hell of a rager, but I bet they're going to do some really cool stuff with it too. So I got to check up on that story.
Yeah, and I tell you right now, there's some military recruiters that are like, we got to go talk to those kids. Like, we need to find those kids. And oh, by the way, take that picture of those kids and put it in every recruiting station in America. You know, like, do you agree with them? Yes, good, okay. You
Okay,
know,
come
and
on then. Yep.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
But
Oh,
no, those kids are awesome.
they're
But
great.
and we'll throw another segue
Yeah.
in, right?
Boom.
We're starting to see, as much as we've been talking about, right, that at these
Right.
specific universities, Columbia and some of these others, where the UNC, where the faculty is part of the problem, right?
Mhm.
I won't say all of the problem, but they're part of the problem. You're also starting to see a big
Yes.
swing in the whole DEI effort at a lot of universities. And I've seen, maybe this is old and maybe I'm just behind, but DEI now stands for didn't earn it. I've seen that a
Yeah.
lot in the last week or so, which,
Yes.
again, it's probably been around a while and I just missed it. But universities are starting to figure out that DEI hires
Right.
are turning into repeat hires because they're not competent and capable and they're not
Right.
qualified.
Yeah.
So, where DEI has been thriving for a number of years now, those places are looking back at their hiring practices and saying, we've filled this 6 times in the last 7 years. Why is that? And then they go back and they look and they go, oh, well, he or she was hired based on a quota, or they, they're whatever
Right.
pronouns they're using, or
Yeah, they, them, their.
right. And they look back, they're starting to look back at that. And like you said, we like numbers, people like numbers, right? It makes things very clear.
Like
and they're looking
numbers.
at their hiring practices and going, this DEI stuff is not, it's costing us money.
Right. It's costing you money. It's probably in certain cases earning you some hefty lawsuits and whatnot, because guess what? It's discriminatory and and it's basically racist. I'd like to believe, I hold out
Yes.
hope sometimes, not all the time, but I hold out hope sometimes that people start things or do things with the best of intentions. And I would like to believe that when somebody came up with this, hey, what is it? Diversity, equity, and inclusion, or equity, right? Yeah. Somebody was like, well, those are great words. Diversity.
Correct.
Diversity is great.
Yeah.
Equity is cool. Inclusion, of course, we want everybody to have an opportunity. You take a concept that in its original form is lovely. Of course, who wouldn't want those things? And then you pervert it, and then you ruin it, and then you destroy it, and you make it something ugly.
Yeah.
I have 2 schools of thought. There's that side of me that would like to believe in the better nature of people. And then there's the other part of me that's, been on this earth for more than a minute and says, oh no, that was, very deliberate and very orchestrated and planned, because they love to F around with words. And that is their thing. And I've plugged this book many times. I get nothing out of plugging this book, I promise you. But there's a book by Michael Knowles, something about, now I'm drawing a blank on it, Speechless. That's it. Speechless by Michael Knowles. And he really dissects this, how the left has essentially hijacked language and how we use it. We think that right off the bat, you think politically incorrect, things like that. And he dissects it, and he goes all the way back to probably like the 40s and maybe even earlier than that, all the way back. And he just takes you through like the whole history and evolution of how the left has manipulated and hijacked words to use against us, to use against people, and to make you afraid to speak, to say things and do things. And, I went sideways on that a little bit, but I do recommend that book if you're curious about that. It's pretty amazing. But like you said, here the implosion is beginning.
Yeah, and I think so. Kind of piggybacking off what you said, the DEI very much in concept is great, right? Title IX, same thing, right? As Title IX was developed, it was about giving young women the opportunity for scholarships and to compete at the collegiate level and continue their education and all of these great things. Right. That now is being perverted, right? And it's being perverted by the current administration, right? And like, if you want to hear somebody get really pissed about Title IX, Martina Navratilova, listen to that lady for a little bit. Holy cow, right? She is so mad about this. It's not even funny. But but it's the same thing, right? And I think what you're going to see as we're starting to see the DEI backlash, and I think you're starting to see a little bit of the backlash on Title IX and LGBTQ and, who competes at what level, at what sports and scholarships and those things. You're starting to see a little bit more backlash on that too,
Right.
On the education side. And I think you're going to see more. I think they'll find a different solution. I think you'll have like a third category. Okay, fine. I think most people were on board with a while ago. But for whatever reason, we've decided to redefine everything to appease a very, very small population. And DEI is.
I don't know about you, Clay, but I'm totally cool with them having another category. Sure. I mean, do whatever you want.
Yeah.
If it doesn't hurt or affect me, I'm cool with that. Sure, why not? I'll cheer for you. Whatever. I don't care. Just you're not going to take away opportunity from people in a group that you do not actually belong in. Just not going to do it. It's not going to be okay. And that is where we're finally at, where enough people are going, hang on. This is now finally out of hand enough for me to react to it, to actually have to get involved in this and say no more. And it was always a matter of time. Like anybody who's observed, and I'm not good at history. I was actually kicked out of my history class, but that's a whole other story. But, so history is not necessarily my thing, but I do know enough about history that it's cyclical, right? With all of the things, different versions of it. And this is the pendulum swing. They swung way too hard. Well, to the left, they swung way too hard to the left. And now that's got to be corrected. Are we going to probably swing at some point in our future? Are we going to swing too hard to the right? We probably will, because we don't learn. But that's where we're at right now. The pendulum is swinging, and it's about damn time, honestly. And I think that's the trajectory. That's what I think. If I'm wrong, then I'm wrong.
You're not alone, though. I mean, that's the Bill Maher argument right now. James Carville, Democratic, strategist, has been saying that for 3 years now. He's been saying it. We can't.
Right.
Yeah. Right. You can't keep pushing this super left liberal agenda on the vast majority of America, including many Democrats who don't want this. Like, it doesn't work. This is still a democracy. It's a republic, but our system of government requires support by the population, and this doesn't have the support of the population. It just doesn't. So, and people are starting to see that. They're coming to those conclusions, and they're making adjustments on their own. So you're on it. You're all over it, and you're agreeing with some of the big heads out there, which is yeah. Good for you.
I think I'll just pat myself on the back a little bit there. So, just a message to anybody who watches the show that knows me personally. Haha, I do have common sense. So there, just wanted to throw that in. Oh, yeah. I mean, kidding aside, these are, it's a strange, crazy time to be alive, isn't it? Like just to be a part and watch this ugly phase of history. And, it's sad. And I look forward to when we can see the other side of this and all the great things that I'm like projecting now. I'm like, what's that called? Manifesting. I'm like manifesting now all the great things to come because of what we all just went through. And I actually do believe that, fluffiness aside, I do believe that because the kids that are coming up now, my grandkids, the youth of today, the very young, they're going to be part of that pendulum swing. And they're going to be, because they're looking at all this. They're like, our world's crazy. I don't like this. And they're going to fix it. I know they will. This was so much fun. And I'm so glad we got to share Clay's video with you. That was so cool. Make sure you go visit that website. We'll put it in the show notes for you too, in case you want to just click on it and go check it out and maybe donate and give some support. That would be really, really cool. And we look forward to talking to you in the comments sections and all that good stuff. Clay, you want to take them on out?
Hey, one more plug. Phantom Airborne Brigade. Look them up on YouTube. Check out their website. Make a donation. Donations matter. And as always from me, keep moving, keep shooting.
I love it. All right, guys. We will see you next time. Take care.